Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People. In today's episode, neighbor blames me for her husband's injury, even though she lets him wander with dementia. Neighbor's disastrous visit leaves my beloved barn owls dead. Entitled woman needs ham sliced immediately. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Neighbor blames me for her husband's injury, even though she lets him wander with dementia. Hey everyone, I've got a story that really shook me up and has left me flabbergasted at how entitled some people can be. I live next to a couple in their 50s. The husband has dementia, and it's really unfortunate to see him going through that. But here's where things go south. His wife, my neighbor, constantly lets him wander around unattended, often in my yard. Yesterday, I discovered him climbing on my shed in the backyard. Concerned for his safety, I immediately called my neighbor to come get him. She arrived but did nothing, just stood there watching as her husband then jumped off the shed and hurt his leg. I thought she'd be grateful that I'd looked out for him, but instead, she called the cops, alleging that it was my fault he got hurt because it happened in my yard. She was yelling and making a huge scene, saying I should have done more to prevent the accident. The officers were pretty understanding once I explained the situation and they saw my surveillance footage. They agreed it wasn't my responsibility to supervise her husband, especially when she lets him wander without any oversight. However, the nerve of this woman. She had the audacity to blame me for an incident she could have easily prevented by just properly caring for her husband. The entitlement is just mind-blowing. Now, I'm left wondering if I should install a fence or what measures I need to take to protect myself legally, because this is beyond ridiculous. Any advice would be appreciated. You need to call Adult Protective Services immediately. This man is literally in danger. And document everything. Save any footage you have, make copies of police reports, anything else you can think of. This man needs help and needs to be kept away from his evil, neglectful wife. This is 100% correct. Hopefully the police already did, but in case they didn't, you should. If she's willing to watch him jump off a shed, it makes me wonder if she'd just watch as he takes a bath with a toaster. That is gross negligence. She will be filing a lawsuit against your homeowners. Save that footage. I take care of my father with Alzheimer's. At this point, I can still let him do quite a bit. But if he were at the stage this woman's husband is at, and I just let him wander around, I deserve to have Adult Protective Services called on me. If she cannot handle taking care of him anymore, she needs to find a place for him where they can. Because he is at that stage where he is a danger to himself. I'm so glad you have cameras. Totally agree with you /Principal Gal. Adult Protective Services should be called immediately. If she's letting him wander, that's outright negligence. If she can't handle him, Adult Protective Services can connect her to local resources that are usually covered by Medicare to help. If he wanders and is displaying disinhibition, not realizing climbing your shed is bad, it's going to get much worse before it gets better, and he will need management so he doesn't hurt himself, worse, again, or hurt someone else in confusion. I wish you the best. Officially notify them of trespassing and then call the police every single time it happens. Also call social services /Adult Protective Services /etc. regularly. Ensure they get a report each time there is an incident. Maybe the old guy will get the help he needs, or at least the woman will keep him out of your hair. I'm going to say she's not necessarily entitled, but she does sound overwhelmed. My mom is in the same situation with my dad, just at an earlier stage in the game. He is still okay to be by himself during the day but has to be monitored more closely at night. My dad kept wandering off, and it wasn't that my mom didn't care. Even though she is genuinely a horrible person, she was just so overwhelmed and scared because no one in their 50s thinks their spouse could end up like that. Thankfully, they have a good support system. My brother moved in next door to help out, but it doesn't sound like your neighbor has that. Adult Protective Services is there for a reason. You won't be harming either of your neighbors by calling them. Neighbor's disastrous visit leaves my beloved barn owls dead. Hey entitled people, I can't believe I'm sharing this infuriating story with you all. My neighbor, who seems to have zero respect for boundaries, decided to take it upon themselves to wander onto my property. But that's not even the worst part, they actually exterminated my cherished barn owls. I've always been fascinated by these majestic creatures, and I had a nesting pair of barn owls in my barn. I've taken countless precautions to ensure their safety and undisturbed habitat. However, my entitled neighbor apparently thought it was their right to enter my property without permission. To my utter shock and heartbreak, I discovered that they had used some sort of poison to kill off the owls. I can't wrap my head around how someone could be so callous and thoughtless. These owls weren't just birds, they were a part of my life, and now they're gone because of someone's entitlement. I've confronted the neighbor about their heinous actions, but they seem to have a complete lack of remorse. They actually justified their actions by saying they were annoyed by the owls hooting. The audacity is beyond belief. I'm devastated by this loss and frustrated beyond words. I'm seeking advice from you all on how to deal with this entitled neighbor and if there's any legal recourse I can take. No one should have to endure such heartbreak because of someone's reckless behavior. Barn owls are protected by the Migratory Bird Treaty Act in Missouri, and other states have similar laws. They are considered endangered in a total of 7 Midwestern states, about laws as far as other countries go. The Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918 is a federal law. Barn owls are one of the protected species. I would absolutely be throwing that law in their face if I was OP. If you're in the US, collect as much evidence and contact the DNR or any other relevant authority your neighbor committed a criminal offense. This is extra shitty. Tell the police I know guy who shot a hawk that was killing his chickens and he got 10 years in prison. Exactly, owls are considered a raptor species. This is super bad federal prison time. My neighbors have one and I love hearing him hoo-hoo all night. It's very soothing. Owls are awesome. So sorry this happened and I'm angry for you. I found out there's an owl in my neighborhood a few months ago when I heard it and got a whiplash headache from my excited head turn. Reach out to your state game warden and tell them. Even in the gun-loving state of Texas, owls are protected. Like other raptors or birds of prey such as hawks, owls, eagles, falcons and vultures, barn owls are protected under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. This law makes it illegal to handle, harm or harass these birds or their nests. Here in Texas, at least the part I'm in, we don't shoot animals for the sake of shooting animals. Unless wild hogs or coyotes. There's a difference between open season animal and protected, and we care about our protected. Entitled woman needs ham sliced immediately. I work in a grocery store and lately have been in the deli but not yet trained on the giant slicer as it scares me. It's not the traditional go to the counter and order type, we slice and package everything and put it out for customers. Right now we have one of the sliced hams on sale and this customer came back and asked if we had any more. The deli manager told her it would be a minute as both her and the other deli employees who can slice were busy. This woman proceeded to cross her arms and stare at me, rolling her eyes and motioning towards the slicer. So I approach her and let her know that the other two were busy with hot food that needed to get put out immediately and I wasn't trained on the slicer. She asked for a former employee and we told her she was no longer there. She then proceeded to throw her hands up and go, "Is there a manager I can talk to?" Someone from another department had stopped in to grab something and asked what was going on and we told them. She then sliced the woman's ham, priced it and handed it to her. "No thank you" was received just a "I know so and so I shouldn't have to wait." Like, ma'am, that's not how grocery stores work. This interaction really irritated me for the rest of my shift. I know the woman from church and I know her name, but now and forevermore she will be known as Karen. ETA my mom is the minister, my parents have even divorced since 1990 and my dad is a lounge singer/gig musician in the next state in the city. I worked a deli counter in a very upscale grocery store for less than a year. This particular grocery store had decided to hire actual chefs to cook all the fancy grab-and-go type items, and even offered a Sunday brunch menu in its cafe that us chefs were in charge of cooking for. I was one of those chefs. None of us lasted more than a year. Chefs are known for being blunt at best, and our lack of finesse while handling difficult customers was definitely our downfall. One lady told me once, as I'm scooping food into her to-go box, that she could get better, cheaper stir-fry at the Chinese restaurant next door, compared to what we sold. Like really? The Chinese food is better at the Chinese restaurant next door than what you're buying at the supermarket deli? No shit, Sherlock. I just looked at her deadpan and said, "Okay, ma'am, why you just go there, then?" Nearly got myself fired for that. But it was worth it to see the look on her face. I know the woman from church and I know her name. This just baffles me. Like, does she not recognize you? Is she not embarrassed to be acting this way, in general and towards someone who clearly knows them? Opie, next time you see her at church, tell her that you have a scripture for her. Then give her Ephesians 4 verse 2. There will be a lot more people that come in like this. Try not to let it bother you too much. Some customers always think that every employee can do everything when that's not true. Many times when they have to wait, they try to get anyone they can see that's employee to do it for them instead. Everything has to be dropped for them. I owned a bait shop and a customer came in and said I can get this cheaper at Walmart and I said, "What are you doing here?" Needless to say, I decided to close my operations soon after, lol. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.